say it, I say it again, you've been had. You've been took. You've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok. This is what he does.
Hey, guys. It's another podcast of That Black-Ness with your hosts, CJ and
Mimi. What's going on, you guys? How you doing today, CJ?
I'm doing alright. I'm feeling black and tired, and I'm a working man.
So. Black and tired, huh?
Yeah, black and tired.
Hey now, seems to be the trend amongst us. I'm feeling black and tired as well, actually. However, I'm pretty excited about getting into the podcasting community. And I'm feeling hopeful for the future, even though we've had so much going on in our personal lives. This is something that we've wanted to do, and now we're doing it. We were supposed to, of course, do it on Black History Month, but niggas stay late, so nothing new here.
You don't have to delegate Black History to Black History Month. There's this one dude, I think his name was Daryl Davis. He's a man who converted several Ku Klux Klan members and convinced them to hang up their hood. And he also thinks that, you know what, Black history should go across the whole entire year. We shouldn't, box it in as part of actual history.
I don't think that is so much. See, I see it differently. I think that while it is something that is actively happening and it happens all year long and it's just a part of this nation, if you will, I feel like Black History Month is supposed to be a place to highlight that which is not often highlighted, which I feel like is part of progression. While I don't feel like it should be boxed in because it is so forgotten and dismissed, I do appreciate the fact that at least this is an effort in a way where it is abundantly clear through education and through just social media and mass media in general, a way to highlight certain things that may be undermined otherwise.
Yeah, but I think his whole thing is that it shouldn't be dismissed and undermined. It should just be part
of course, history. But we got to start somewhere, yes?
We started that like a long time ago.
I think that for sure the next step is to, actively go through these things and acknowledge these things just in general. However, I don't pose that, hey, let's get rid of Black History Month, because all months have Black history intertwined in them. I don't pose that for sure.
Yeah, that's not here or there. Either way, we're not going to be boxed in with that. We're going to be talking about black stuff
all year.
24/7, 865, baby.
Right.
Or 365, shit. Whatever.
865.
865.
Black people can't do math. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go. Perpetual stereotype.
Right.
Wow.
Speaking of black people not being on time and black people not being able to do math, that's not even a stereotype. CJ just can't do math. But anyway, speaking of the stereotypes, that's actually what today's topic is about. We are going to be doing a series going over stereotype.
We're gonna tell you about the history, and then we're gonna talk about it in the modern time, and try to come up with a solution to all this. Try to make sense of all this.
Go over whether it's negative or positive and the impact that it's had, and all that good shit.
Right.
So, yeah. Watermelon. I've been drinking watermelon. No, the stereotype. Black people love munching on some watermelons, and it's been because that's what I read, and I thought that it was really funny that they used the term munching. Those niggas, they love to munch on the watermelons.
Yeah, you really leaned in that one.
Anyway, so yes, black people have a keen taste and love for watermelon.
Keen taste.
Keen. Is that not the word I'm looking for?
I think we get the gist of what you're talking about.
And so, yeah, in history, it's been depicted in newspapers, it's been depicted in cartoons, it's been depicted, in everywhere.
Literally.
And especially a few decades ago, was commonly seen as people looking like monkeys, depicted as people looking like monkeys, like blackface, red lips type shit.
It's our
and sitting on a stoop, eating watermelons with shit-eating grins on their face. It's funny because the depiction is of the lazy nigga, the ignorant nigga, the childish nigga. However, what it originally stemmed from was self-sufficiency amongst black people. And before slavery was abolished, slave masters used to actually allow black people to grow and sell watermelon for themselves. And they even deemed themselves benevolent for allowing them to do such and allowing them to have like a watermelon harvest every year where the slave master would cut up the watermelon and there'd be a little routine of all the kids coming and running to get their watermelon. It's a funny thing. There is this story that I read about where this kid refused to run up to get his watermelon. Like, he would walk up and then he would go back to the slaves' quarters and eat it and not let the master see him do that. But his mom beat his ass and said, basically, act right because.
I'll beat you.
Yeah. Because it's basically looked at as being non-compliant. Mm-hmm. So, it was a positive thing in general because they allowed that, and it was something where obviously there was a harvest, whether it was negative things associated with it. Regardless, it was an overall positive thing. And then after slavery, black people would grow and sell and eat watermelon. It was one of their main sources for a lot of black people of income and merchantry. So basically, because this was something that was a means of people just trying to come up and make ends meet and just survive and become normal, white people did not like that shit. And so that's literally how that stereotype was birthed, because again, it was a means of self-sufficiency. But these niggas was bitter, big mad. So yeah, for black people, it was a positive thing. It had always been positive connotations. In fact, the negative aspect initially came from Europe, or that side of the world, where mostly Italians and Arabs were associated with the eating of watermelon. And they basically, poor people would eat it. They basically would be littering the streets with rinds and shit like that. But moving forward, because white people were bitter, because black people had often, had watermelon as their crop in trades, they was like, oh, all these niggas do is eat fucking watermelon. And, made it a negative thing. Eventually, as that notion became a thing where it was heavily associated with black people, in 1869, Frank Leslie's illustrated newspaper had published probably the first caricatures of black people eating watermelon. And it is a picture of it's a group of 5 black boys, and they are ravenously and happily eating the watermelon. Here's the picture. If you are listening to this and you want to see what we're talking about, you can go ahead and watch us on YouTube. I'll post the pictures there as well.
The funny thing is, it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
No, well, this was the very first one.
Oh, okay, that explains it.
The very first one.
They haven't refined. They haven't refined that racism yet.
Yeah, I mean, these kids don't even have the monkey lips or nothing. But anyway,
they look human.
Exactly. But they look like they love them some watermelon.
Yeah.
But anyway, and this one is, especially this one here.
Yeah,
this nigga,
like
it's empty. Exactly. But anyway, from there, the stereotype had really grown more and more into the depiction of the happy Negro and the lazy Negro and the childish Negro, because in the dirty or sloppy Negro, because apparently you had to sit down to eat watermelon. Watermelon would be often eaten in groups. Watermelon is a sloppy food to eat, and watermelon is sweet, and so
yeah, they like, there's like what is it, that whole propaganda of like, this is a childish fruit.
Yes.
Undignified for
yes.
people to eat.
Yes. So that's when the depictions of the characters really started to become more offensive and what we know them to be today, like Lazy Town type shit.
Lazy Town?
Yeah. Like, that's how they draw them.
I mean, Lazy Town's an actual
cartoon
kid show.
No, I'm talking about the cartoon Lazy Town that was banned. By the 20th century, the stereotype was everywhere, and they was making items out of it, like pot holders and salt shakers and cookie jars and all the traditional little things you see with like mammies and shit. They also did that with watermelon, with the watermelon stereotype.
Well, hey man, you know, if they can't make money off us breaking our backs for free, they're gonna make money off us by humiliating and exploiting and taking aspects of our culture and bastardizing it.
Of course. And so another popular thing, as per this article raised, an example is there was this popular postcard that portrayed an elderly black man carrying a watermelon in each arm, only to happen upon a stray chicken. The man laments, "This am the worst predicament of my life."
Lord have mercy.
This am the worst predicament of my life. Look at that.
Yeah.
And basically as a black man, the postcard implied he had few responsibilities and little interest in anything beyond his own stomach. Edwin S. Porter, famous for directing The Great Train Robbery in 1903, co-directed The Watermelon Patch 2 years later, which featured darkies sneaking into a watermelon patch, men dressed as skeletons chasing away the watermelon thieves, aka the KKK, who dressed as ghosts to frighten the blacks, a watermelon eating contest, and a band of white vigilantes ultimately smoking the watermelon thieves out of a cabin. The long history of white violence to maintain the racial order was played for laughs. I mean, of course. So nowadays, I mean, that was pretty much the extent of it. It was in cartoons. It was obviously the whole premise of fucking whole movies. You know, it was in paraphernalia that people bought, and it was just everywhere. And it was really a way of turning something that was positive into something that was negative, belittling, and demeaning. And
well,
with that being said,
it's like because minstrel shows were really super popular back then. a lot of these performers would like to gather as much information on black people as they can, so they can mock and distort it, so they can get as much profit from the stereotypes. That's why watermelon and all that stuff is all over the place.
The way I see it, while yes, it was a means to make money, I feel like more than anything, it was meant to break down the image of the black man, of black people, and portray them as lazy bums who don't do shit but cater to their desires. And ultimately, that was the opposite of watermelon in general, initially, for black people.
Yeah.
And so I think that while creating that image, that is for people who don't know about black people, for people who don't know about black culture, for people growing up who are being introduced to this is what they're being taught. This is the image that they will have of a black person. And mind you, this is being portrayed in entertainment. So children are seeing this. They're saying, it's funny. Look at that nigga. He's lazy. All he does is do this and all he does is do that. So I think that what it does is it creates a perception of what these people are. I
might disagree with you.
I mean,
here's why I disagree. I agree with you in some points, and I disagree with you mostly with your whole conclusion. I think it is a product of already dehumanization. The fact of the matter is, in order to be a slave master and own slave, you have to dehumanize the people that are slaves. Otherwise, you're gonna have a lot more, you're gonna be like, oh, I have a conscience and da-da-da-da. So you had to dehumanize them. The fact that they are free and they're no longer property, they're no longer counted as high-level pets or cattle or chattel, they aren't theirs. So their dehumanization is like, you can't be mine, so guess what? You're still nothing but a nigger. So you're not even human, you're nowhere near my level. So the way they do that is to poke fun at them. And the way they do that is to make them into savages that will defile the white flower. So
create a negative image, like I said.
Yeah, that's what no, not create. They already have this image of us.
No, but now, yes, they have that image of us.
I'm saying it's
but now they are freed. So now they're trying to sculpt it into something else. You were just a slave. You are still just a nigger. It's still about not, because obviously being a freed man changes the whole notion of you're just a slave. So now they have to recreate another stereotype or another outlook on what these people are, because they're less than us regardless. So now what is it going to be? Because they're not slaves no more. This is clearly a very negative stereotype. Now it's just like a cookout or a lighthearted stereotype that's commonly joked about, but the roots of it were obviously very negative, and it stemmed from, basically these minstrel shows and these cartoons and these, paraphernalia that perpetuated people's hatred toward people's independence and black people's gain of independence, freedom, and self-sufficiency.
I feel like as far as how it is perceived now, that watermelon is always going to be a part of this earth, and people, it's a likable fruit. It's a likable flavor, and it's
juicy.
Yeah, it's juicy,
crisp, refreshing.
Exactly. And the thing is, it's like, that's why the stereotype is not as like scathing as it was in the past.
Yeah, that's what I said. Now, like I said, now it's just a cookout stereotype that's lighthearted that people commonly joke about.
Yeah, I feel like food stereotypes are usually more lighthearted anyway for the most part. I don't think there's like a lot of food stereotypes that like, oh man, I can't believe you said that to me, other than maybe eating people. That one is a little rough.
Right. I mean, I think that was pretty negative.
What, eating
watermelon?
People? Watermelon?
Yes.
Now or then?
Then.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, because they're picking themselves up by the bootstraps. They're barely giving anything, and nobody fucking likes them. Not the North, not the South. Nobody fucking likes them. And when they're just like on their own, they are feared. One, because we fucking did some fucked up shit to them. You know, they might want to get revenge. One. Two, they're also belittled because they're also beneath us because they're inferior. They're not human to us. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, yes. But yeah, so basically it did stem from something very negative, but I think that today it's more or less just a comical thing that people talk about that I feel like people really don't know the history of. And I think that if you are offended by it and you don't want to hear about this, or you don't want other people to say it or anything like that, a good way to try to, stop this stereotype is simply by educating people. Educate them, let them know, hey, did you know that originally the negative connotation behind watermelon was from Italians and Arabs, and for Black people it was a symbol of self-sufficiency and progress. And watermelon is actually delicious and refreshing, and everyone likes it, not just Black people. And that's a fact.
I feel like if you're upset about the stereotype, you should just take a moment and reflect. Is it really worth being upset about? Because like Nene said, it is what got us started. Despite what they did and what they portrayed, is what got us started. People love this stuff, and is it really like?
And that's a valid point. If anything, it should be a sense of positivity in terms of a stereotype, because if anything, it stands for your self-sufficiency and ability to move forward and make something when the world is against you. Make a path for yourself when the world is against you. So you can say, yup, I love some watermelon. Sure do. But anyway, yeah, that is pretty much it. On one hand, you can educate someone and tell them why you're offended, or you can change your outlook and look at what is the original source of this for your specific culture and history. Because in reality, despite what they did and despite what they said, I bet you they were still buying them fucking watermelons.
Speaking of which, Source, where do you think our listeners could read that article and who?
It'll be linked to below.
Okay. In this case, they want to read more from that author.
Yes.
Their author, right?
Website.
Well, someone wrote it.
I didn't see who wrote it.
But yeah.
Let's see. This article is a doctoral candidate in history at Rice University by William R. Black.
There you go. William R. Black wrote that. If you want to go look more into their research or writings.
A doctoral candidate. I hope he gets it. His doctorate.
How old is that? That gotta be old.
I don't know.
He probably already is a doctor.
Maybe he didn't get his doctorate.
He probably listening right now. So I am a doctor. What are you talking about?
William R. Black in 2014.
See, exactly. So what are you talking about? Probably just got it this year.
Yes.
You know how long that takes.
So shout out to William R. Black. This was very helpful and useful to me, and yeah, this was kind of popping. I think that you deserve a doctorate in Black culture. What is it? African American Studies.
Yeah. But you can get a doctorate in Black culture. I bestow upon you a doctorate. You say I'm doing the whole knighting gesture. you have the doctorate of the streets of the black culture.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but yeah, that's all we have to say. Any final thing you want to say about this?
So how you feel? What's your feelings about watermelon, man? How you feel about what you heard here today? Is it like great? Are you proud of the stereotype watermelon, or do you still hate it? Is it a big deal to you, or is it like whatever? I don't care anymore. That's old hat. So let us know down in the comments below, and also let us know if there's like any weird stereotypes that you found out maybe living however long you've been on the earth.
Yeah, and let us know if there's any black exclusive stereotypes that you want us to discuss in the future with this series. So yeah, so yeah, that's all we have for this podcast. Again, make sure you subscribe and give us stars and give us likes and give us love and support. We really appreciate it. Once again, I am Nini.
And I am CJ.
Catch y'all next time.
Ask is, why am I so insistent upon giving out to them that blackness, that black power, that black pushing them to identify with
black culture? I think that's what you're asking. I have no choice over it. In the first place, to me, we are the most beautiful creatures in the whole world. Black people. I mean that in every sense, outside and inside. And to me, we have a culture that is surpassed by no other civilization. We don't know anything about it. So again, I think I said this before in this same interview. I think at some time before. My job is to somehow make them curious enough, persuade them by hook or crook to get more aware of themselves and where they came from and what they are into and what is already there, and just to bring it out. This is what compels me to compel them, and I will do it by whatever means necessary.